Welcome. This is Menopause and Reviving Sexual Health with Hypnosis. I'm Dr. Janet. I'm an obstetrician gynecologist, an intimate life coach, and a professional hypnotist. And this is for you if you are in the perimenopause or menopausal period and are becoming aware of symptoms and want to know the alternative options and some of a broad range of options available to manage symptoms that occur in this transition. So, we will be going over a few things. So, we want to become aware of some of the common issues that we see in perimenopause and menopause, and realizing that this is a natural part of life, it's a natural process. We will also explore sexual function and kind of how sex works and some of the essentials to sexual fitness. We'll also be getting into some of the common issues that we see with sexual health in menopause. Then I'd like to introduce you to hypnosis so you can understand what it is. And then we'll go into how hypnosis can help with menopause as well as with sexual health. So, first off, what is menopause? You hear this, the change of life, I'm going through it. What is it exactly? So, menopause is essentially a time that marks the end of your menstrual cycle. So, it's diagnosed or the condition is considered to be in effect once you've gone 12 months without a menstrual period. So, let's say you went 10 months without a menstrual period and then you had your period. You're not in menopause just yet. You're still perimenopausal. You got to start the clock all the way back over. So once you've gone that 12 months without a menstrual period, then we've hit the menopausal mark. For some reason, menopause can feel very scary. I've had so many women, patients, and clients share with me their concerns and fears about menopause. And I've heard things like, how can I be sexy at this age? Or the smells, the UTIs, the hot flashes, and sleep problems. It's just depressing. It's so painful now. I don't want to have sex anymore. Is this what menopause is? I can't even function at work anymore. My brain is a mess. Woo! These hot flashes are killing me. Will I ever be able to sleep again? I'm exhausted. I have so much on my plate right now, and my body is just different. Menopause, the struggle is real. I used to love sex, but now I feel like menopause is killing my sex life. If menopause is so natural and healthy, why does it feel so scary? Well, the answer to that lies in the concept of patriarchy. And patriarchy is the system of our society that everything is sort of run and dominated by men. And that has an overflow effect in our programming and the way that we're trained and what we come to believe about ourselves and about aging and about menopause in cultural norms. It has an effect on medical research and education and the things that we focus on in the medical field. It's very male centered. It has some roots in ageism and racism. If we celebrate the male who's, 35 years old, anything that falls out of that is not going to get the attention or is going to be made to be frowned upon. And so this is the reason why menopause feels so scary sometimes. It spills over into so many things, including our views on menopause. And we need to dismantle patriarchy, and we can do that by educating ourselves and educating the generations to come, fighting against these discriminations and unequal areas in our society. And you're doing that right now by educating yourself. The good news is that it does not have to feel scary. Menopause is a natural process. There are a number of pharmaceutical options that can help with things like hot flashes, and menopausal hormone therapy, vaginal dryness with the vaginal estrogens, also things like vaginal hyaluronic acid for vaginal moisture, Vyleesi, Addyi, both of those are medications used for desire disorders. So there's lots of options, and those are just a few of the options from a pharmaceutical standpoint. When we talk about sexual function, it's important to note that there's three aspects that are critical to how sex works. And that falls under the biopsychosocial model. What that means is that there is biology involved, there's psychological factors involved, and there are social cultural factors that are involved. When we talk about biology, we're talking about our health and physical functions, how the bodily functions, our physiology, our anatomy, how those are all working together. When we talk about psychologic factors, we are going to be thinking about how we view ourselves, and that comes into play in our arousal and our desire. And then when we think about the socio-cultural factors, we're talking about cultural norms and what's normal and what's common and what's expected. That's a big one in terms of our sexual function, how we appear in the world, and what our perceptions are around that in our culture. So there's this very interesting interplay of how our bodies function, how we feel in our bodies, and the mind-body connection. And that feeds back into the health of our body, the behaviors that we have, and then our interaction with the world. What does your family think about sex and how you carry yourself and your sexual confidence? Is that frowned upon? Is it something that is celebrated? All of that is going to affect how you perceive yourself and actually plays into our sexual function. So I want to talk a little bit about our sexual health essentials. And you'll again begin to see how there's this interplay between our biology, our psychology, and the socio-cultural norms. So some of the critical parts to our sexual health are the physical aspects. Blood flow is one of the primary things that's going to be very important in terms of our arousal and the body's ability to get prepared for sex. So our blood needs to be pumping, it needs to flow freely to our genitals in order for the tissues down there to expand and get prepared and get moisturized and wet for sex. So that's why blood flow is very important. Then there's hormones and chemicals. So there are hormones like dopamine and testosterone that play a critical role in us mounting arousal and our desire to be stimulated. And so those are going to be involved with the whole process of going from having an interest in sex and then our bodies then being prepared for sex. So hormones and chemicals are another essential. And then the pelvic floor muscles. So the pelvic floor muscles are sort of like a basket weave at the base of our bodies, at the area of the genitals. And the pelvic floor muscles allow the body to contract and relax. And so contraction or like getting a little tighter is good for partner stimulation. It also helps to bring blood flow to the pelvic floor, which is good for stimulation, and then relaxation, and so that we're able to accommodate a partner. And a partner in intercourse. So if the pelvic floor muscles have any issues, any problems, you may have problems with pain or the sensation being a little too loose. So you can see problems where it's too tight or it's too loose, and those all involve the pelvic floor. Another aspect that is extremely important is our sleep. We live in a go society. We're drinking coffee to keep ourselves awake. But that can really affect our sleep. And our sleep is such an important part of us recovering, giving your body a chance to repair at nighttime. And so when our sleep is disturbed, our sex inevitably becomes disturbed as well. Something that can also affect your sleep is stress. So if you've got high levels of stress, and this is kind of where, some of the interpersonal, social, cultural factors come into play. When you have racism, when you have patriarchy, when you have discrimination, these are all things that are going to increase your stress levels, and that's going to have a negative impact on our desire, our interest in sex, and our ability to orgasm. In fact, if your mind is racing and stressed and worried, it's difficult to relax and get into that relaxed parasympathetic state of mind and be able to have enjoyable sex. So, some of the most common issues we see with sexual health and menopause include desire or libido, and this is our interest in sex. Probably the next most common thing that I see with my patients and clients is vaginal dryness. And sometimes you don't realize that your issue is that your vagina is dry. You might feel discomfort or it might feel painful. All of those are often related to issues of vaginal dryness. We'll also see sleep problems. That's a big one. If you're having hot flashes also, if you're having hot flashes at night, that's going to wake you up. That's going to interfere with your sleep. And sometimes people also have sleep problems related to racing thoughts. Your mind is thinking about everything from taking your kids to soccer in the morning, aging parents, your body's changing, you're not feeling up to it, or your partner has a medical illness. These are common things that we see around the time of menopause that can really impact our sleep, the way that we're thinking, and interfere there. I mentioned the hot flashes, so yes, that can happen at nighttime, impacting our sleep, and then also just how we feel in general. If we're always having these hot flashes, it just has a negative impact, or it can have a negative impact on how you feel in general. Body image is a really huge one. When we don't feel good about ourselves and we don't feel good about our bodies, oftentimes we don't feel sexy, and that affects our libido and desire. There's actually studies that have been done on this. That it's a major impact on our libido and desire. And here again, we have the voice of culture that tells us there's a lot of ageism that says that after you reach a certain age, it's not okay. You're not supposed to be sexy. And so we have these things playing in our minds and in our subconscious minds, which we'll talk about shortly, that can really impact our sexual health and well-being. Another one is orgasm. So orgasm can have some changes related to nerve changes in our bodies, related to sensitivity of those nerves, and then also our ability to relax and not have our mind racing. Because again, if your mind is racing, it's difficult to get into that relaxed parasympathetic state of mind that is necessary for orgasm to occur. Let's talk about hypnosis. What is hypnosis? Well, hypnosis works by achieving a level of focused awareness that bypasses our critical thinking brain, that analytical brain it's got all the to-do lists and everything that's in the here and now. Like your critical brain is paying attention to what I'm saying, hopefully. And what hypnosis does, it allows us to bypass that critical thinking brain and get into a focused level of awareness in the mind, in the subconscious mind. Hypnosis is actually a natural state of being. So it's like daydreaming. If you've ever been in a car driving and you get in the car and then suddenly you're at your destination, that means that you are in hypnosis in that driving period. So your body knows what to do. It was, running on the executive function, but your mind was in that subconscious space thinking about what you're thinking about or daydreaming. Another place that we see natural hypnosis is like if you're engrossed in a book or engrossed in a movie, you're not actually in the present. Your mind is in the movie or in the book. So that is another form of natural hypnosis that we were in all of the time. So another question is hypnosis safe? And the answer is yes. Hypnosis is very safe. It's been used by the American Medical Association since 1958, folks. It's been around a long time in the medical profession. And it's been used by medical professionals for a variety of things, including anesthesia, for procedures, behavioral change, and psychosomatic illnesses. One of the biggest myths about hypnosis is that it is mind control and that you're locked and unable to control yourself. And that is just not the case. In hypnosis, it's not a spell. It's not mind control. It's not a spell. It's actually consensual. So it's a state that you have to be in with the hypnotist, and you work together with the hypnotist to achieve the goal that you're trying to reach. And you have to do it together. So you're always going to be conscious in the process, and you're always going to be in control. So you can exit the state of hypnosis at any time, but it is a consensual process with the hypnotist. Another common question that I get about hypnosis is, can I be hypnotized? Who can be hypnotized? Can everyone be hypnotized? Is there anyone that can't be hypnotized? And the short answer is that most everyone can be hypnotized. So everyone who has a normal level of intelligence and is willing to follow directions can experience a powerful level of hypnosis. The only exception to this would be someone or individuals who have had a brain injury or brain disease, or individuals who have less than normal levels of intelligence. But if you got normal intelligence, you can follow directions, you really have a powerful tool to get into hypnosis and transform your life in the way that you desire. There have been so many studies on how hypnosis can help with sex and with menopause. A few of the most common ways are with hot flashes, with pain, helping with sleep. Stress is a great one to get some relief from with hypnosis. Orgasms, we can get to achieve orgasms, we can get to a place of relaxation, that parasympathetic place that you need to be relaxed in order to have these wonderful orgasms. And in terms of body image, we can reprogram our mind, we can reprogram the way that we perceive and think about ourselves, and get rid of some of the negative programming that happens so early in our upbringing and training, and that sticks in our brains for a long, long time until we remove it with these types of tools. And then behavioral change. If there is something that you're doing that you need to stop, like you're drinking too much caffeine and it's keeping you up in addition to your hot flashes, we can work on that and remove those habits that you don't want to do anymore using hypnosis. There's also things like weight loss, smoking cessation, stopping alcohol. I mean, the list just goes on a lot of the behavioral changes that we can make using hypnosis. So it's something that you'll want to consider. I've personally used hypnosis to help me with sleep. I used to be waking up right at 3:30 a.m., somewhere around there, 3:30, like every night, waking up, and I couldn't get back to sleep. It was messing up my whole situation. And I used hypnosis, and now I'm able to really sleep like a baby. There are some times where I'll wake up, but I can go back to sleep without it interrupting my whole night. So that's just one example of how it's worked for me. We've covered a lot of ground, but in summary, Menopause is a natural, healthy process. I want you to remember that. It can feel scary, yes, and often comes with a bunch of different types of concerns. But there's lots that we can do. There's a lot of options to help you sail through the process and transition with ease. There are pharmaceuticals, medications. These options are there and they work. And there are other options as well, like hypnosis, that can help with hot flashes, sleep, pain, stress, orgasm, and so much more. I hope that you found this information helpful and valuable. If you want to hear more about this, about hypnosis and these topics, you can set up a consultation with me or download a copy of my book. Just check the links in the session notes to find out how to do that. So, thank you again for watching. Bye bye.